We have Economics Paper 1, January 2019 for the IGCSE. Scroll down. So we have figure 1, which represents demand and supply of electric cars. So we have the supply curve and the demand curve. There's shift in the demand curve and there's shift in the supply curve. So go to the question. It said the original equilibrium point is x. So x is our equilibrium point. And what is equilibrium point? The point of agreement between quantity demanded and quantity supplied. That is the equilibrium point. So for each of the following changes, starting from x, identify the new equilibrium point in table 1. So we have the equilibrium point in table 1. So we put it down. So we can all see. Okay, let's put it this way. So the first one is a rise in the wages of electric car production workers. So if there's a rise in wages of electric car production workers, it represents that it means there's going to be an increase in the cost of production. An increase in the cost of production will shift the supply curve leftward from S to S2, which represents J. Clear. So the first one is J. The second one, an advertising campaign for electric cars. So an advertising campaign for electric cars will not only increase consumption of electric cars. It has to increase if it's successful. So a successful advertisement will increase the quantity demanded for electric cars, shifting the demand curve rightward from D to D1 at B. Clear. The third one, a fall in consumer income. A fall in consumer incomes will reduce demand within the economy. And reduction in demand within the economy will shift the demand curve leftward from D to D2 at G. At G. Are you there?
Yeah.
So we have the last one here, right? An increase in subsidies for electric cars and an increase in the tax on petrol cars. So an increase in subsidies for electric cars would brings about a fall in price or a fall in the cost of production. So and that will shift the supply curve rightward. Well, supply curve rightward for electric cars and the supply curve leftward if there's an increase in cars. For, petrol cars are substitutes. Petrol are substitutes to electric cars. So an increase in tax on petrol cars will shift the supply curve leftward for petrol cars. And as a result, the demand for supply cars for electric cars would have increased based on the fact that there's no taxes on the petrol cars will be expensive now based on the fact that there's an increase in their prices, meaning that people will buy more of electric cars based on the fact that their prices are reduced as a result of subsidies from government, probably. So it will shift the supply curve rightward from S to S1 at C. Clear? So move on. So Roman figure 2. Electric cars require a large amount of copper. It is estimated that production of copper will need to be doubled over the next 20 years. Explain why the supply of copper might be priced inelastic in the short term. When we talk about price inelastic, it means there's no significant change in the quantity supplied as a result of a change in price. Because here we're talking about electric cars, it's supply. So it is priced inelastic because there's no significant change in the quantity supplied as a result of a change in price. So what would have caused the supply of copper to be priced inelastic? So the price has increased, but as a result, it is not increasing. The quantity supply is not increasing. I wrote here. In this case, copper is a mineral resources, which means it has to be extracted. And to extract it, it will take time. So that means in the short run, the supply of copper would not increase, even if the price changes. Is it clear? So move on. Okay. Roman figure 3. It has been estimated that the price elasticity of demand for electric cars is price elastic. If it is price elastic, it means there's going to be a significant change in the quantity demanded as a result of a change in price. That is price elastic. And that means the PED is greater than 1. That is price elastic. Great. So an increase in price of electric cars will therefore reduce the total revenue. Okay, let's say an increase in the price of electric cars will therefore what? A, increase total revenue. No. Decrease total revenue. Yes, it will decrease total revenue. Why? Because the demand for electric cars would fall. Based on the fact that the demand, the PED is always price elastic.
Yeah.
So definitely, if the price increases, the quantity demanded would reduce. As a result, it will affect the total revenue. So the total revenue would fall, which is B. Clear? Okay. Identify and explain two factors that might make the demand for a product, such as electric cars, price elastic. So for electric cars to be price elastic, what does that simply imply? It means yeah, so identify and explain two factors that might make the demand for a product such as electric cars price elastic. So if the demand for a product is price elastic, what would have caused it? One, substitutes. So with more substitutes, if the price increases, consumers will choose other products. They will just leave a product and buy from other consumers, other producers. So two, the level of income, the proportion of what you spend on your income. So here, for electric cars, they are expensive, right? So that means the proportion of what you have to spend regarding your income would be high. As a result, it is price elastic. So many substitutes make the demand for a product to be price elastic. The percentage of your income which has to be spent on that product can also make the price of the price elasticity of demand for the product to be price elastic. Is it clear? So we'll move on. Question 4. Are you there? In 2017, car production workers in the US earned an average of 25.58 per hour. Demand for labor is more important in determining wage rates than supply of labor. Do you agree with this statement? Explain your reasons. First, you have to define demand for labor and supply of labor. What is demand for labor? Demand for labor is the total number of workers firms are willing to employ at a given wage rate. That is demand for labor. While supply of labor is the total number of workers making themselves available for a job at a given wage rate. Do you understand the two? Now, wage determination. So I'm going to support and oppose. So in support of demand for labor as a determinant for wages is one. Demand for labor is derived demand. What does that simply imply? It implies that labor is needed only when they have a function, a responsibility to carry out. So if we don't need you, we won't employ you, we won't pay you for nothing. So that means because they are needed, it means they have to pay them. Two, workers that make popular products will be more in demand. So if the product you produce or what you are doing is specific on certain products that their demand is increasing, that means you will be attracted. Workers will need you, or employers will need you. As a result of that, they have to pay you more. Two, the third one, wages are likely to be high, unlike if there's what we call increasing demand for your products. So to ensure that the product continues to be produced, that means workers are needed to get them produced. So that means firms will need to pay more wages because the demand for labor will increase. And when the demand for labor increases, wage rate will also increase. That is for demand for labor. Then supply of labor, we said the supply of labor is the quantity of workers that are making themselves available for job, right? So supply of labor can also be the determinant for wage increase. One, if workers with the right skills, it depends on the skills of workers. So if workers with the right skills are available, firms, if the workers with the right skills that are, what I'm saying is skillful workers, the supply of skillful workers are less. It's always less, as a result, the wage rate will increase as a result of that. One. Two, employers might also try to attract workers that have specific skills. And to attract them, you have to pay them more to attract them. So that might also be a determinant for an increase in wage rate. Is it clear? So that's what I wrote about. And the last one I wrote, unskilled workers. For skilled workers, their wage rate is always less. For skilled workers, their wage rate is always high. So that can also be a determinant. Is it clear? Good. So we'll move on. We'll go to question 1B. So we have the PPC. Okay. Here we have the production possibility curve. And what's the production possibility curve? It's our production possibility frontier. It's a graph that represents or that shows us the combination of two goods that can be produced within a given economy if all resources are fully utilized. That is the meaning of a PPC or PPF. Yeah. So here we have a question. Which of the points A, B, C, or D, or E represents an underutilization of resources? When we talk about underutilization of resources, it means the resources are not fully employed. Yeah. And the only point where resources are not fully employed is at point D. Yeah. So D is the answer. So the next question. Using the data in figure 1B, explain what is meant by opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the loss in the best alternative forgone. That means the loss in the best alternative forgone. That is opportunity cost. And as with the PPC here, we said the PPC represents the combination of goods that can be produced if all resources are fully utilized, right? So here we have consumer goods and capital goods. So the movement along the line will determine, we talk about opportunity cost. So the movement from B to C will mean that more consumer goods will be produced in sacrifice for capital goods. Or the movement from C to B will mean that more capital goods will be produced to sacrifice consumer goods. Either C to B or B to C. C to B means you are sacrificing consumer goods for capital goods. B to C means you are sacrificing capital goods for consumer goods. Is it clear? Any question about that? So we'll move on. Briefly explain why point E on figure 1B is currently unobtainable or unattainable. Point E is unobtainable or attainable because the PPC shows the combination of goods that can be produced within a given economy. And when you look at this point, at point E, it is outside the PPC curve, which means it's outside it, yes. So that means we cannot there's no resources to produce at that point. So that means it is not attainable. What?
There are not enough resources to produce consumer and
capital goods, yes. So it's not attainable. We cannot reach there. We don't have resources to reach there. Yeah. Clear? Okay. So move on. Question C. A mixed economy attempts to solve the economic problem of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. To that C. We go on. In a mixed economy, the larger the private sector, the more efficient the economy will be in producing goods and services. Do you agree with this statement? Explain your reasons. Yeah, I said yes, and I said no, because you have to combine both. Yeah. So saying yes here, I wrote increasing competition brings about efficiency. When the competition within in an industry is increasing, it means that businesses have to be efficient to be able to cost their price low and to be able to reduce their price. And being efficient means being efficient means your cost of production would have fallen. If your cost of production falls, it means you can charge a lower price. Yeah. And charging a lower price increases the opportunity of getting more customers. Do you understand? Yeah. So that's 2 points there. And the last point is that in the private sector, there's always the incentive to make profit. And for you to make profit, you need to, because there's incentive to make profit, you think about producing goods that have more quality and you invest more in innovation. So, when you are able to produce goods with quality and you are able to produce goods that others are not producing, it allows you to be profit. It allows you to make more profit and quality of goods will increase. Yeah. So, quality of goods increasing, more innovation is about efficiency too. So that is why I said yes. Yeah. And for no, one, it might bring about in the private sector an increase in a large private sector might mean that more advertisement might be done. So because you want a way of making your product different from those of your competitors, you might use excess advertisement to do that. And excessive advertisement is a waste of resources. That's the first point. And waste of resources means inefficiency. Two, some firms in the private sector might be too powerful, and as a result, they might collide. Yeah. And when they collide, it's not efficient. Yeah. Consumers will be vulnerable, and small businesses might be out of the industry. Yeah. And in some way, I said there must be a balance between the private sector and the public sector. So it's important because it's a mixed economy. And for a mixed economy, we need the combination of both. Yeah. Is it clear? Yeah. Now we'll go on to question 2.
Yeah.
In figure 2, label the axis shown where a firm would experience economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. Did you do?
Yes.
Let me see. Economies, diseconomies of scale. Yes, it's right. So we have our economies of scale here. These are the point of economies of scale, and these economies of scale, and this in between, turn to scale. So go to question 2. Roman figure 2, right?
Yeah.
It said, with the aid of example or with help of examples, explain the difference between internal and external economies of scale. We're talking about internal economies of scale. We're talking about a cost advantage a firm has as a result of expansion. A cost advantage a firm has as a result of expansion. That is internal economies of scale. Example is purchasing economies of scale. Buying in bulk, as a result, you have a discount. That's a fall in cost of production. Therefore, external economies of scale is a cost advantage firms within an industry have as a result of expansion in the industry.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Example is about access to supplies.
Yeah.
So if the industry becomes bigger, it means it will become attractive to suppliers in that industry.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
So we'll move on. Are you there?
Yeah.
Economies of scale are necessary for a firm to be competitive. Do you agree with this statement? So the first thing you have to do is to define economies of scale. And what's economies of scale? Economies of scale is a cost advantage as a result of expansion. That's economies of scale.
Yeah.
So here with competitiveness, how does competitiveness bring about? How does competitiveness bring about? They said economies of scale is necessary for a firm to be competitive. What is competition itself, or what is competition? Competition is the rivalry that exists between firms. So for a firm to be competitive, for a firm to be more competitive, it needs economies of scale. Why? Because with economies of scale, your cost of production would reduce. And reduction in the cost of production means that you can reduce your price and still be profitable. You can reduce your price and still be what? Profitable, because your cost of production has fallen. So if you are able to reduce your price, it can be your competitive advantage. That's the first one. 2, price itself, price that we're talking about, if it is being reduced, is a way of having a competitive advantage or a unique selling point for businesses. And the last one, economies of scale can be crucial in a competitive market. Without economies of scale, you cannot survive the competitive market. Do you get it?
Yeah.
However, price is not the only thing that it is not the only aspect of competitive advantage. It's not only price. Quality can also be there. Quality is also important. And last one, not all large businesses succeed. Even small businesses can still exist without economies of scale and still be successful. Is it clear? Then we'll move on. Okay. Are you there?
Yes.
So they said Aluko is a small American business manufacturing aluminum ladders. Manufacturing aluminum ladders. Table shows its monthly cost. Okay. So they say using examples from table 2, explain the difference between a variable cost and a fixed cost. Variable costs are costs that changes as the level of output changes. Example here is the administration cost, material cost. No, the material cost is a variable cost. Packaging per ladder is a variable cost. Labor per ladder is also a variable cost. Clear? Then, and fixed costs are costs that do not change as the level of output changes. Example here is rent. Rent. Clear? Is it clear, please?
Yes.
I hope you're not changing what you did.
No.
Okay. So we'll move on. Now, question 2 says, in October 2017, Aluko sold 1,000 ladders at $70 each. $70 each. Calculate the profit. The formula for profit is total revenue minus total cost. So selling 1,000 ladders at $70 each means Our total revenue is 70,000.
Yeah.
Leave that aside. Now we need to find the total cost. For total cost is FC plus BC.
Yeah.
So total cost here, FC is 1,000. We have 1,000, we have 500, we have 1,500. Then we have our variable cost for material, which is 45, you multiply with 1,000, which is 45,000. Packaging per ladder is $5. We multiply with 1,000, which is $5,000. The labor per ladder is $10, which is multiplied by 1,000, which is $10,000. So $10,000 plus 5,000 plus 45,000 plus 1,500 plus 500 plus 1,000 gives us 63,000. 70,000 minus 63,000 makes a profit of 7,000. Is it clear? Is it clear, please?
Yes.
All right. So the profit there is 7,000. So the next one. Identify and display one factor that might limit growth of a small business. A small business is that business that is naturally small. One of the reasons why one of the factors that might affect the growth of a small business is lack of finance. And when we talk about lack of finance, that means accessibility to finance.
Yeah.
A small business might not have access to finance because banks will not want to give them loans because they are being considered as high risk.
Yeah.
Is it clear? That's it. And the last question, I think, for question 2. Right? Assess the effectiveness of government policies to promote competition in the country of your choice. When we talk about government policies, we're talking about tools government uses to ensure to take care of the economy, to manipulate the economy or to control the economy. So example of tools that government could use are supply side policies, monetary policies, or fiscal policies. So here I'm talking about supply side policy. I'm talking about fiscal policy, which is the use of subsidies or taxation to correct the economy or to control the economy. So I wrote government policies are used to check anti-competitive practices. For example, the Libyan government uses subsidies to encourage small firms. So that's about the Libyan government here. So what is the problem about using government policy like subsidy? The subsidy might not be enough. So yes, government is giving subsidy, but these subsidies might not be enough for those small businesses to expand or to increase their output. And 2, when government gives subsidies, the Libyan firms might become ineffective because they know even they fail, government will still give them money. So they might become inefficient. Sorry. Is it clear? So that ends question 1 and 2 for January 2019. So the next class will be on question 3 and 4. Thank you.